Every year in the Champions League, we have an absolute group of death. And this is going to be the last version of this version of the Champions League. And this will be the last group of death we're ever going to get. And what I do to it is PSG, Borussia Dortmund, AC Milan, and Newcastle United. Now, I think this is clearly group of death material, out and out, head and shoulders. Could be an all-time great group of death for my money. And as I'm looking at it, by the way, I don't think this is really group of death for Newcastle as much as it maybe is some of the other teams. In the video today, I'm going to be cracking open the group of death and seeing exactly what it's made of and who could actually win the group at any point in the video. If you do laugh, you learn, you like something or whatever, please do like and subscribe to the channel. We're pushing for 10,000 subscribers, and we cannot do that without your support. So at any point in the video, if you do have a good time, don't forget to like and subscribe, share and retweet and all that good stuff, guys. Get into the comment section on this one and let me know who you think will win the group of death and who will fall out of Europe completely, who's going to finish dead last. And let's just get stuck into it. Now, the first team we have to look at and we have to address straight off the bat is Paris Saint Germain. Now, between Goncalo Ramos and N'Golo Muani, I think it's safe to say they're going to be very well set for attacking talent. Mbappe's back in the team and back on side, and Ousmane Dembele is back in France, and he seems to be really happy in PSG. And quite frankly, this front three might be better than what Mbappe, Messi and Neymar was. This is maybe the levels it was meant to get to. In midfield, Zaire Emery has really emerged as, like, the way I think about this guy is he's kind of like PSG's Musiala. That kind of light on his toes, creative midfielder that's came through from the academy, and it doesn't matter how old he is good enough to play in the first team, and he has really taken Luis Enrique's PSG by storm so far this season, and it's hard to imagine he won't have a prominent role in this team, along with Manu Ugarte, who's come in from Sporting Lisbon, who's done a fantastic job of being a defensive midfielder in front of the back four of Skriniar, Lucas Hernandez, Marquinhos and Achraf Hakimi. They've just been so good so far this year in terms of just getting their basic shape together. Donnarumma hasn't really been doing that convincingly, it must be said, but I do think this is one of the best PSG defences we've seen, and maybe one of the best front threes. But where I do think when it comes to this Champions League stage group of death, they are going to fall down is in midfield for me, because as much as they've got midfielders coming out their hoo-ha, there's so many different possible midfields they could play. I do feel that so many other teams in this group have got their midfield so strong, and it's actually one of the best parts of their team, that in the do-or-die matches when the ball's turning over quite often, maybe PSG do drop some points you wouldn't expect them to. I do think PSG have to qualify from the group. They have to finish in the top two. On paper, you've got to imagine Mbappe gets enough goals, and over the course, you know, they get the job done, but definitely won't be cruising this group. They'll need to fight and earn their place in the next round. No two ways about it. Now, AC Milan have spent a lot of money this summer after selling Sandro Tonali to somebody. I wonder who. They went out and they bought Ruben Loftus-Cheek. They went out and got Yunus Musa, Tijani Reinders, Christian Pulisic. They went out and got a whole host of new players to try and strengthen their squad ahead of this Champions League group stage. And the midfield is completely new look. Rada Krunic has came in to this kind of holding midfield role, and between Ruben Loftus-Cheek and Yunus Musa, rotating in the game at the moment on the 60-minute mark into this box-to-box midfield role, along with playmakers like Tijani Reinders, they're starting to get into a bit of a groove, and this AC Milan team definitely feels a lot more capable of competing in a group like this versus maybe the last season or two, where even with Tonali, even guys like Kessie who have came through their midfield, it's maybe not been as well organised. A lot of these guys like Tonali and a few other ones that are in this team now, like Krunic, have kind of emerged into AC Milan through the form when they're in the squad. But they've got so many players now that have been brought in by the manager, like Reinders, Musa, Loftus-Cheek. Christian Pulisic has started off life in Serie A very well, and I think he'll come into this Champions League group stage wanting to kind of prove himself as well. And along with Rafa Leao on the left-hand side, Oliver Giroud is at the head of a very well-oiled machine here for getting into the final third and creating goal-scoring opportunities that normally you don't associate with these kind of teams from Serie A. But, you know, Fikayo Tomori, Malik Thiaw, very good defenders. Theo Hernandez, one of the best left-backs in the world. And Mike Mignan, for me, is one of the best goalkeepers in the competition. AC Milan are definitely not going to roll over for anyone. But when it does come to midfield, as much as I do think they've got lovely synergy and balance on the go from what we've seen in Serie A, when it comes to the Champions League, Ruben Loftus-Cheek, Yunus Musa, when you compare these guys to Premier League midfielders, nothing special. Tijani Reinders definitely could influence matches and be the difference in midfield on occasion. And Krunic is an out-and-out Scudetto winner. He's a Serie A midfielder, a AC Milan midfielder. He's earned a spot in the team. Nothing more, nothing less. But again, similar to PSG, maybe a bit of a weakness, but again, very formidable front three and very formidable backline. Borussia Dortmund blew the Bundesliga last year. They've lost Jude Bellingham now to Real Madrid, but in some ways they're actually a little bit stronger when it comes to maybe being competitive in a group like this, because in midfield at the moment, you're looking at guys like Emre Can, Marcel Sabitzer and Julian Brandt. But they're very organised and having capable deputies at each position that are just like them, if not better in some situations depending on the opponent. So Borussia Dortmund, for me, have got one of the strongest midfields in this group. And along with their defence of Hummels, Nico Schlotterbeck, Ben Sebaini, I think they've got potentially one of the best passing setups for defence in this group. And if they can get enough goals up to the guys like Adeyemi, Seb Haller, Daniel Malin, Marco Rolls-Royce himself, finally, can he get another good Champions League campaign under his belt? One of the last signings they've made, if not the last signing they're making before the deadline, Füllkrug comes in from Werder Bremen, and this guy is a battering ram of a forward, just like Seb Haller. So a real like-for-like replacement. You know exactly how Borussia Dortmund are going to play. Very attacking, very dynamic, looking to score lots of goals at home especially, and when they go away they will not be fearful of going forward. And I think Borussia Dortmund, out of the three teams we've looked at so far, feel maybe the most well-rounded from front to back. Definitely not got the best attacking talent of the teams we've previewed, but I think clearly they've got the best strength and quality for me in midfield, and potentially even at centre-back. Schlotterbeck could be the best centre-back in this group, and between Hummels and Sula, like, I think that could be, you know, Borussia Dortmund could have one of the best defensive performances in this group as well. And it is just going to be a matter for them if they've got really enough in the tank to get the results in those really tight games wherever they show up in the group. At home, but they've got to be fancied to beat anyone. And that is a really powerful element into this group. Because for Newcastle coming into this group, I actually think, similar to what I was saying for Dortmund, I think the top level of the Newcastle midfield is probably capable of bossing the game against Paris. It's probably bossing the game against AC Milan as well at St James's Park. The Borussia Dortmund games may be a bit more spicy, be a wee bit more combative in that midfield area, just with some of the characters that they've got. But like I said, the AC Milan midfield, I'm sure the Newcastle team will be looking at guys like Loftus-Cheek thinking you could even get a game for Chelsea. And don't get me wrong, the PSG midfield is great, but it's not as great as some other midfields that are out there in European football. It's more their attacking line that you're really fearful of. And for me, I still don't know the latest details on this Botman injury. So let's imagine he's modestly okay. We don't want to wish him ill, right? But I do think that the Newcastle defence is definitely strong enough at home that against the likes of probably Borussia Dortmund, AC Milan will be able to keep the scoring down well enough. I think the midfield can be combative enough. And I think the likes of Isak, Gordon will be out to make a big name for himself in this group. There's no two ways about it. Almiron, and again, like some of these other teams have demonstrated, Newcastle do like to make like-for-like replacements to keep up the tempo through the match and really like try and forward press and still, you know, their tempo on the match. And guys like Barnes and Wilson will have a lot to prove in the Champions League. But I think the main strength for Newcastle is the midfield area, whether it is Bruno Tonali and Joe Linton or anyone else has to maybe fill in for just incidental situations. I think there's enough quality in there between Bruno and Tonali primarily. And overall, from front to back, I think Newcastle will be really competitive in all of these matches. Really similar to Dortmund. I think they probably carry as more of a home field advantage than some of the other teams in the group. So I do think Newcastle at home are going to be good for probably 6 points. It's going to be those away games, because for Eddie Howe and for Newcastle, for a lot of these players, basically all of them, this is totally new. This is a totally new experience to them. This AC Milan squad was in the Champions League last year. This PSG squad have been playing Champions League for a number of years. And everyone in that Borussia Dortmund team has played Champions League football as well. And it's just going to be that inexperience, that kind of green behind the gills of this Newcastle squad away from home is maybe where the unknown element is, how well they could do or how well they might need to do. So I've done my maths and I've tried my best to predict this group based on everything that's at my disposal at the moment. And I think we're going to see AC Milan collect 4 points in this group. I think Newcastle will get 7 points. I think they'll get 6 at home and 1 away. I think Borussia Dortmund are going to get 9 points at home and they can probably get a draw on the road for 10 points. And I think PSG are going to finish on 13 points atop of this group. Let me know what you think. I'll be really interested to catch up on the comment section of this one, especially after the group stage is done. We'll definitely come back and have a look at the prediction for this one and see who was right. Good luck to Newcastle. Good luck to all of us who are going to be watching this. I hope there's lots of goals, lots of drama, and lots of action. And yeah, I guess I'll see you in like 3 months to pick up on this one. On screen there now, some other stuff that I've made that YouTube thinks you might enjoy. Stay out of trouble. And yeah, catch you on the next one.